they're so amazing. They're doing these things. It's like, yeah, but that's table scraps.
Yeah.
But you won't know that until you start developing your sense of self-worth and then creating your relationship standards as a result of your improved sense of worth and your belief in yourself.
If you're not holding any standards, what's going to happen? You're going to drift around with a tide and you are going to cling to anyone and anything. You don't know. It's essentially like looking for a flashlight in the dark when you have a blindfold on.
Hey everybody, it's Bianca.
And this is Amelia.
Welcome to another episode of Evolve Ventures, where we are helping growth-minded humans evolve by breaking one limiting belief at a time. We hope you enjoyed the last episode, number 231, Motivation Monday, How to Trust Yourself Again. For today, 232, Why You Need Relationship Standards. So this is kind of a redo episode. We haven't done an episode on this topic since episode number 6.
6 and 7.
So it's been a minute. So we thought we would do this episode over again. It's been 226 episodes or 228 episodes since the last time we touched on that. I can't do math right now, whatever. 200 and something episodes. So it's been a while, and we've had a lot new awarenesses, a lot of new insights, a lot of clients we've worked with. So this is going to be a much updated, evolved, you might say, an evolved version of that episode. So Amelia, take it away, my friend.
My goodness. I can't tell y'all how excited I am to update or evolve this episode, because since we launched the episode number 6 and number 7, which is why you need relationship standards and also like how to uncover your relationship standards.
Yeah, something like that.
It is like, number one, the audio quality. I apologize in advance for anyone who has been sent that episode, likely all of my clients. So just blanket apology there.
Same.
But ultimately, what I was saying to a client of mine recently is that the value in those is so high and so necessary for the world to have in their pocket completely free. Because ultimately, this is a topic that, Bianca, you and I talk about so much, and that honestly, I swear every single person has come to me, whether it's a client or someone within the community, where they've struggled in this capacity. Yeah. And what that capacity looks like is, how do you have standards around your relationships? Because otherwise, you're kind of just drifting around in the tide. And so we're evolving this. But the fundamental principle is why do you need relationship standards? What is the benefit? What does that look like? What are they in the first place? So that for all of our new listeners, they can be reintroduced to the episode topic, the concept itself. And then also for all of our OG listeners who we've met recently, shout out to you, you know who you are, who have been listening since day one, to really refresh that in their minds. Because this is something that I know when it comes to, we are the sum average of the people that we spend the most time with, that includes relationships. So I think it'll be really important for our listeners.
I think too, just to highlight this point, this is not just for a certain type of person. Mm-hmm. This is for all the conscious singles out there like myself, for all of the conscious couples out there like Amelia and Alan, and whatever you are in between. We all can add and improve upon the standards that we have for our relationships. And honestly, doing this has allowed me to get out of situations that were not aligned for me and to attract relationships that are really aligned for me. So even friendships, my friendship with you, my mentorship with Alan, a lot of the people that I have in my life, I've used this tool to decide for myself, are these people in alignment with who I am, who I want to be, and where I'm headed? And for all of the people who weren't, again, easier said than done doing this, it took a little bit, but I've removed a lot of the people from my life who no longer fit the criteria that I had. They were no longer aligned based on my list, because my list is ever evolving. And I think that's something else really important to put out too, is that you're not just going to make this list once and then it's going to stay stagnant. I update my list all the time. I have a spreadsheet in my system. I know we're freaks. We're not expecting anyone else to do this. But I have a spreadsheet that has my relationship standards there.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm in there once a week, once every 2 weeks, going through it, updating it. If I'm dating someone, if I'm talking to someone, I'm really using this. And it's not to judge the other person. And I want to make sure we emphasize that.
Mm-hmm.
This is not to put someone up against a list and say, well, you're not good enough because you don't meet this list.
Facts.
In no way, shape, or form is that what the point of this is or what we're saying. What we are saying is based on the person that I aspire to become, based on the relationship I aspire to have and the life that I want to lead. This is the kind of person that I need to be in my life, that I need to have in my life. And I want to make sure that I am proactive in making sure that the people in my life have those qualities. And if not, it's absolutely okay, but we're not going to be in each other's lives.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to insult, judge, shame, be negative towards another person. It's to give yourself the permission to attract what is right for you and to let go of anything and anyone who is not. And that's okay.
That's so okay. And I'm so glad that you mentioned that because that is absolutely fundamental. Your list, your relationship standards, if you will, is going to evolve. And I think that this is a quote that I remember posting in my story so long ago that so many people just resonated at such a like vibration too. It was fascinating because I got tons of DMs like, thank you for saying this. And I'm like, it's really not that big of a deal.
It's not that deep, bro.
It's not that deep, but it is though, because here's the facts. Like your quality of life, your levels of fulfillment, your levels of success, your earning potential, your capabilities, all of the happiness, joy, status, success, glamour that you seek, whatever it is, even if it's a simple life, like all of that is contingent upon the quality of your relationships.
100%.
So with that known fact, my goal is to help all of our listeners and especially our community members who understand that fact and help them not feel guilty for knowing that and for embodying the things, the hard things that holding yourself to a standard that you aspire on your own accord. There's no guilt involved with that because I think what we've run into and what we've experienced since we first recorded this topic is there's so much guilt that we all hold when we let go of what's not serving us.
100%.
And I think that when you understand this concept at a level that just allows yourself to kind of fall freely into the known fact, the known principle around this of the quality of your life is contingent upon the quality of your relationships, that hinges on how much you're willing to lean into your relationship standards and admit those to yourself. So I'm really glad you started there because that is the permission slip that we all need to be like, all right, why do we need standards?
Just going to slide that permission slip over for all of you.
We all need it. Lord knows we all need it like at different parts of this journey and this venture that we're on. So sliding that to you. You don't like it, take it back. It's all good. So, all right. So I have a couple of things written down here on my Remarkable, a couple of things for this episode that I really, really want to bring into it. So why you need relationship standards. Hopefully we really started to highlight the need because everything that you want, that you desire, that you don't currently have, embody is because of where this standard either A, does not exist, B, you're not leaning into it, or C, honestly, there's just a little bit of work that needs to go into it. Your actions need to start to align towards it. So let's address number A. Why do you need it? Well, when you're in a space where you want something, you desire something desperately, and you do not have a standard, meaning a bar that you hold for yourself. It could be characteristics. It could be the way in which something is done. If you're not holding any standards, what's going to happen? You're going to drift around with a tide and you are going to cling to anyone and anything. You don't know. It's essentially like looking for a flashlight in the dark when you have a blindfold on. You don't know how to navigate that space. So you end up kind of just playing Marco Polo with the echo of the room. It's going to be really, really difficult to illuminate the things that you don't even know where they are. Anyways.
That also happens a lot because a lot of us don't believe we're deserving of more. So we just allow anyone and anything into our lives because, well, I can't have better anyways. So let me just allow whatever is there because that's already more than what I expected. I know that was the case for me for a really, really long time. The last relationship that I was in was the most effort that I put into being very intentional about who I want in that seat next to me, and me believing that I was deserving of that. So when I was beforehand, when I was a conscious single, I was very intentional about developing that sense of self-worth, that I'm deserving of having someone there who meets these standards. And I'm going to develop myself so that I can attract that. And still working on it, right? It's a forever journey. Amelia's still working on it. This is going to be something that you're going to do for the rest of your life. You know, worth is something that, worth and our self-belief and the way that we perceive ourselves, it's something that we're always going to be working on. And with every opportunity is a lesson to learn.
Definitely. Huge. And what you just said there is such a big component around if we tend to have lower levels of self-worth, we see ourselves as less than, we have ruminating thoughts about how we're not enough, we're not deserving. It's going to be really hard to set a bar, to have any sort of expectation of how people treat you and what that bar is. It's probably going to be really, really low. And so it might feel like initially to be hard. It might feel really hard initially to create and even fathom having a list.
Yeah.
And that, I just want to say, like, that is its own journey to kind of work through that because of those levels. And you might be, as a listener right now, you might be in your own chapter of that. And that's okay. Whether it's within intimate relationships, whether it's colleagues, team members, whatever, like there is a journey that you have to go through to kind of give yourself, like I said, that permission slip and slide that over to yourself and realize that you are someone who is deserving of having your needs met. You are someone who is deserving of being treated kindly. You are someone who is deserving of X, Y, and Z as a person.
And those are just the bare minimums.
Yeah.
I'm deserving of having all of the things that I want. I'm deserving of having these higher expectations that beforehand I would have been too nervous to ask. Definitely. I think that's a really important thing too, because people just allow the bare minimum. And again, because they don't feel like they're deserving of more, it's like, well, they're so amazing. They're doing these things. It's like, yeah, but that's table scraps.
Yeah.
But you won't know that until you start developing your sense of self-worth and then creating your relationship standards as a result of your improved sense of worth and your belief in yourself.
Absolutely. So I have a particular client in mind, and I really think that she's a great example of this journey, because she and I have been working together for about a year now, and she's had such tremendous growth in this arena. And I've worked with guys in this arena, girls, like in so many different type of backgrounds. Everyone struggles with this, with relationships, right? There's a lot of challenge and pain in this spot. And just recently she was listing some of the things that she really, really wants. And she's starting to lean into it, like, well, I want my partner to have this. Like, I want them to embody these characteristics. Like, one of them was like loyalty. One of them was empathy. One of them was like, she was really listing off like characteristics. And it was so amazing to hear that, because ultimately what I shared with her, I was like, that is your relationship standard. That's a part of your relationship standards list. That is a standard that you're now leaning into because you finally feel as though you're deserving to attract that. Because you're putting in the work to increase that deservancy factor. Even though your self-worth was low over here, that doesn't mean that you're not deserving of this type of treatment, of this type of relationship. And so starting with a list that is small, starting just like anything, starting small and building and leaning into that deservancy factor will help you start to get clarity around what are those things that you deeply desire. And I know that's hard for some of our listeners because it's like, well, I don't even know. I've always been a people pleaser my whole life. So this is hard for me. And with that, one of the things that I want to say is like, someone probably sees you for your deservency factor. There's probably someone right outside your social bubble that sees you for an accurate perspective. Now, we're not talking about people who have massive high self-worth that genuinely like believe that they should deserve $1 million just by sitting on their couch. It's not that, right? It's kind of the opposite where we start to, but we all know someone that's like that. I deserve XYZ, but I'm not willing to ever put in the work. You know, she's been putting in the work.
Yeah, that's tough.
So as we go to kind of navigate the kind of last part of this episode, really what I want to lean into for our listeners is now, okay, you give yourself that permission slip. You're looking at where your self-worth is, that deservency factor, and navigating that the quality of your life is going to be contingent upon the quality of your relationships. And now having a bar to that, leaning into that, that's going to help me bring more clarity on what do I want? What do I need? What do I deserve? One of the things that I found in coaching that is so, so important to mention, and you kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, B, is who do I aspire to become? Because you can want someone with 6-pack abs. You can want someone who has, like, I remember when I first created my relationship standards list, one thing, for example, we'll talk about negotiables, non-negotiables, and musts. One of my negotiables was to have someone with an accent of my like dream partner. Someone has an accent, right? Like my dream partner, it's negotiable if they have an accent because I found that sexy at the time.
Hey everybody, my name is Isaac and I have been a part of Evolve for a little over a year now. It's not been really great, honestly. I'm just kidding. My experience with Evolve has been nothing short of phenomenal, and the community, the Evolve Ventures Society, is just a group of people who are all like-minded and growth-oriented, and you can ask questions and get support from anyone, and it's a really private group and you can share and be open, and that's what I really love about it. Emilia and Bianca have been nothing short of phenomenal, honestly. The amount they care about their team members and their mental well-being and their mental health and improving everyone's self-awareness in terms of being growth-minded and growing to where you want to be. I could not have asked for a better place to be at right now in this point in my life. And yeah, have a great rest of your year ahead and keep evolving, everybody.
Musts, absolute must nots, and then negotiables. Think about it that way. The negotiables are things that you don't care either way. They don't make a big deal. Mm-hmm. If they have it, cool. If not, also cool. Mm-hmm. The absolute musts are a component where if this person does not have this, it will not work. Mm-hmm. One of those for me is you must be growth oriented. You have to invest in your own development. If not, it will not work. My entire life is growth and development. So the person that I intend on being with has to have that. Yeah. For the absolute must nots, smoking is one for me.
Same.
If you smoke, I cannot allow you into my life because I aspire to be the healthiest person that I can be. Right. And I don't want to be around that. So think about it that way. Absolute musts, absolute must nots, and then the negotiables. So it's 3 simple categories. For anyone getting started on this, start off with the must nots. We all know what we don't want in a partner. Yeah. We all know what we don't want.
Just look at all your past partners.
Yeah.
And think about all the things that just didn't work out because they're deep down inside, you're like, yeah, I don't like that. That just does not vibe with me. List them down.
Right. Then start thinking about, okay, based on who I want to be. So I'll use myself as an example. I'm a leader. I'm a speaker. I'm a clinician. I'm the co-founder of an organization. So what's really important to me? Okay, this person has to be emotionally intelligent and emotionally available. Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. That's a must for me. What else? Okay, I'm incredibly invested in my fitness. Mm-hmm. Okay, they have to be someone who's interested in fitness too. Movies, that I don't really care about. I don't care what your taste in movies is. So that's a negotiable. And then you start thinking about that. So Who is the person that I want to be?
Yeah.
You got to start with you.
I agree.
And this is where I really made mistakes in the past, and why, you know, my relationships failed so much in the beginning was because I was just clinging to who's going to give me attention and what do I have to do to get them.
Right.
And now, being a conscious single, my focus is, who is the woman that I want to be? Who is the woman that I intend on being?
Right.
What's the kind of person that, you know, when I'm at the end of my life, I'm going to be so proud of being that woman. Okay, now who's the person that's going to be next to me in that? And what are they going to have to be and not be, do and not do in order for us to have the most beautiful, magnificent relationship and marriage possible, and to have an extraordinary life? And so in this new chapter of my evolution, that's what I'm really focused on. And a lot of this came from me coaching with Amelia in the beginning and my own inner work. So when you're creating your relationship standards, it's going to be rocky in the beginning. And I want to make sure that we highlight that end, because I think what we've seen with a lot of people is that there's an avoidance and a fear of doing the inner work.
Yeah.
And that makes the list not be what it needs to be, because there's parts of you that need to grow in order for the list to continue to get better.
Yeah.
So the more you're willing to really look in the mirror, look at yourself and where you are, and then allow yourself, give yourself the permission and the opportunity to work on yourself, to become the person that you want to be, to continue growing, then you can really start building that list out, and you'll start to believe that you're the type of person that deserves the person on that list.
Facts.
That you deserve that person on that piece of paper. So I'm in a place in my life right now where I have higher self-worth and higher self-belief than ever before. And that's why, you know, I've ended relationships, and why, you know, previous situations I was in didn't work, because I realized I need so much more than this.
Yeah, you have higher standards.
I have so much higher standards, and I jumped in and I made poor choices in that way. And then this was in the past, and it caused me a lot of pain, and it caused me a lot of hurt. And now I'm in a space where I had those situations happen. I looked at the lessons. I took the lessons. I was willing to look in the mirror. I was willing to look in the mirror and say, where did I mess up here? How did I contribute to this? What did I do that allowed for this to happen? And that's the hard part. That is the hardest part, because we just want to blame the other person.
I'm so proud of you right now. Big coach moment of like,
oh my God,
so proud of her.
Right? So I really looked at, what did I do in this? Where were my mistakes? Okay, it was this, it was this, it was this, and it was this. And I'm like, okay, cool. I have amazing coaches and mentors who can help me work on these things. And I know the psychology and the science and the data behind this, so I can work on this for myself. And I did. And got in other relationships, and every time it got a little bit better. And my relationship got a little bit better, and my relationship to myself got a little bit better. So this most recent relationship I was in, it was the best experience I had ever had up to this point. I looked back on my relationship standards. It wasn't what it was. The relationship ended, and now I can continue to learn. And I can say, okay, what can I learn from that? How can I improve myself? How can I improve my list and my standards? How can I recognize things sooner and make better choices in the future and continue to become the woman I want to be? And how can I start living authentically in that space? And that's really what this situation is going to look like. That's what creating your relationship standards are going to look like. Who am I? Who do I want to be? What do I need to work on? And then what do I expect from the person? Because you can't expect someone to do more than you're doing. And I think there's too many people who are like that. Like, I'm not going to work on me, but you got to be perfect. And it's like, I don't think so.
Exactly. Well, that's where this is a twofold kind of conversation that we're having, that I want to encourage all of our listeners right now. If you haven't already, go to the show notes and click the link in the show notes, because that's going to provide a digital asset that is just very, very simple to get the ball rolling for you.
Absolutely.
To list your relationship standards. It has 3 columns: the must nots, and the negotiables. And I want you to use this digital asset as kind of like a homework or an activity for you, where you take it twice. One is for the partner that you want to be proud to be in a relationship for, the standard that you hold. And this is just an intimate relationship. You can take this list and you can apply it to teammates, how they treat you, right? Like what you want in a job or whatever, right? And the second time that you take it, I want it to be for you, who you have to become, what standards you have to embody, what work you have to do in order to attract that. Because here's what happens. I'll have clients fill that sheet out and I'll say, okay, what is your dream relationship? A lot of the times what I find with clients is that they actually have a really good idea of what they want in a dream partner in their head. They focus way more on other people and what they want other people to be, or what they don't want.
Yeah.
And they have that list ready to go. And so what I do is I say, okay, let's roll with that. But very few of us kind of reflect upon what cycles do I not want to repeat that contributed to what you had said to this relationship. I have another client in my head right now that he has a good idea of what he wants from his partner. And because we went with that list first, that helped him to move forward in the right direction, which put him up against those moments where it helped him to see some of his patterns. So now we're going to shift gears into, okay, what type of man do you aspire to become in order to attract this other list?
I like that. That's good.
Because here's what happens. A lot of the time we'll just have the first list of who we wish to have in our life, the attraction, who we wish to attract and have by our side, and what relationship we want to be posting on social media about and be proud of. And when we're at the end of our life, look back and be like, that was someone who I loved with my whole heart, who loved me. What we don't often do is the second part. Same thing with me. I'm proud of me. I loved me with my whole heart, and I brought myself to the table every single time. And this is the thing that I really want to encourage. If you don't have someone in your life that can help you with this is where Bianca and I can help you. We have done this work. Bianca's still going through this and growing through that. And what she has done as a conscious single is really incredible. And B, I want to give you credit because you've also taken all the lessons that you've learned from every single relationship, and you've reflected inwardly, even when it was hard, to recognize your patterns. Especially
when it was hard.
Yeah. Like this client, he's like, oh, I have this pattern and I'm realizing it, and I don't want to look in that mirror. It's easier to blame someone else when you realize that you're the type of person that has that issue, that has that challenge.
It's really easy to avoid it.
Yeah.
Or to just say, well, it didn't work, and not really look at the why underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you give yourself the permission to acknowledge that you are not perfect and that you are going to make mistakes, it reduces a lot of the shame.
Yeah.
And then you're able to look at it and really acknowledge, okay, why did I do what I did? Not what's wrong with me, not why am I such a mess up, not why do I suck at relationships, but really like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
What happened to me? What have I experienced that allowed me to make the choices that I made? And for me, it really was this sense of, I don't believe that the kind of person that I want is out there. So I'm going to allow whatever.
Right.
And that belief allowed me to make poor relationship choices. And so when I started really facing that and saying, okay, this is my fear. This fear is causing me to make these choices. Okay, now I know the root cause. That's the fear I need to work on.
Huge.
And now in this stage of my life, that is what I'm working on. I'm building my belief in the opposite direction. I'm gaining evidence. I'm challenging myself. I'm doing exposure. I'm doing all the things that I have my clients do. I'm doing it with myself. And the changes that I've been able to make are really significant. And again, it's a never-ending journey. I'm not perfect. I'm not 100% there. but I don't need to be. I don't
Definitely.
have to be perfect. I just have to be willing to put one foot in front of the other.
Mm-hmm.
And when you give yourself the permission to do that, that is when real change will happen in your life. That is when you will attract the kind of person that you've always dreamed of having as your partner, because you'll have become the kind of person that can attract that on that vibrational frequency, that energy frequency, that heart and mind frequency.
Mm-hmm.
You need to become the kind of person that can be that and then attract that. And the only way you can do that is by looking in the mirror and saying, how did I get here? And why? And what am I willing to do to make sure that doesn't happen again? And so that's what I'm doing. That's what Amelia did to attract her dream relationship, really setting these standards, creating them, and then doing the work to become that. That really is the trifecta.
It is. And what's really cool is I'm sitting here now with my mission partner on the couch next to me, someone who I love, adore, and genuinely like just get so energized by spending time with and the work that we do. I have my life partner, my intimate mission life partner on the other side of this studio. Like, and I'm living the life right now, which is a byproduct of all of that, which I was willing to look into and willing to go into on my own accord. And not only that, but I have my entire life, I'm helping people in the regard that I at one point wanted desperately to do. And I have relationships with my family that I at one point would have thought could never have been possible. And I'm helping other people have relationships with the people that they care about the most and attract more aligned relationships in through the compass of their hearts, through the compass of their values, through the compass of what they genuinely want on their own accord without other people's influence. And that is the magnet that you can become as a listener as well. And that's why I really, really encourage you to take this episode to heart, to mind, and to everything. Take a look at the show notes, click on that link, that digital asset, run through it if you want help running through this. This is something that we have done. Honestly, at this point, I feel like 1,000 at least plus times.
At least.
And there's a whole coaching program that we can work around through this by developing and attracting better relationships into your life. And that program will be centered around being that type of person who can attract that type. So it's not you fitting into someone else's box, into someone else's world. It's you creating an epicenter of what you aspire to attract. And that's what I'm the living proof of that. Bianca, you're the living proof of that. And honestly, everyone in our vortex is getting that. So I don't want you to miss out on that. If you want, Bianca and I also, we have 30 minutes on our calendar every single Saturday to connect with our community and listeners. So that's pretty much free coaching. That is free coaching. It's completely private. There's no judgment in that. We've all been where you are right now, for sure. So that link will also be in the show notes and we would love to see you there. Bianca, final episode suggestion and takeaway.
Final takeaway is this is going to be an evolving journey. This is going to be something that you are going to work on and work through forever if you want the greatest relationship possible. Give yourself the permission to do the work. Give yourself the permission to look in the mirror at your own challenges and work through them, your own limiting beliefs, your own fears, your own insecurities. And honestly, give yourself the permission to claim what it is that you want and to have the courage and the faith and believing that it's possible for you. That's what I'm working on. And I really believe that all of our listeners can work on that as well. And episode suggestion for this episode is 141, Motivation Monday, relationship goals. 3 simple tools for that perfect relationship.
Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby.
My final takeaway, thank you for the episode suggestion. My final takeaway is going to be have the humility to do this work because future you will literally wrap you up in a great bear hug and thank and kiss you and bless you for doing that work. Having the humility, just like you are, B, in this journey is what is going to allow all those doors to open for you. And I know that because I literally am on the other side of that. And my future self, like, is just wrapping that past version of Amelia with so much love and abundance and like genuine like gratitude because I had the humility to do that work. And I know I've seen other people in that, and it's just the most beautiful thing that you can give yourself. So that's my final takeaway.
We hope you all enjoyed this episode. We know this was a bit of a hefty one. Please reach out and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye
everybody.
everybody.